recording Conversion's live episodes, which is exciting. Nice. So you're in Zurich?
I'm in Zurich, in flesh and blood.
In flesh and blood. It's so nice to see you. So
Nice
welcome
to see you
Zurich.
too.
What have you discovered?
Nature. And all you have to do is just drive around. I mean, to go beyond Zurich or go beyond the main cities. I mean, it's just spectacular.
It is. I mean, I've been in Zurich a long time, as you know. I came here 19 years ago. After living in Austria, it was a place where I felt I had to live. And I've never gone back since I came 19 years ago. I think, though, there's an analogy. A lot of people call Zurich in Switzerland a golden cage.
Yeah.
Because there is the seclusion and the lack of reality as to how people should or could live in different places. Have you noticed any of that?
I mean, every time I come here, I lose this sense of there's other places.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think that you had a stopover before you came to Zurich. We spoke a little bit about that, about the fact that you were in London as well.
Yes, I was in London. I was at the Thinkers 50 event for the last couple of days.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about Thinkers 50, because I don't think many of us get the chance or could get the chance to go to or be part of Thinkers 50. So tell the audience a little bit about Thinkers 50.
So it started out with these two journalists, Des and Stu, and they wanted to rank or highlight the best and the best of the management thinking. So every couple of years they do this ranking, and then they do this award ceremony where they pick up best thinkers or authors or ideas in different categories, and Financial Times called that kind of Oscar of management thinking. So, I mean, it's literally the best of ideas and minds. And, it's not like there aren't other thinkers and contributors outside of that community. Over the years, it has become like a close-knit community.
And I think that one of the things that you identified as well that we want to talk about today is this concept of regeneration and regenerative leadership, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, that was the theme. The idea of regeneration comes from nature, that nature kind of regenerates itself to replenish, to rejuvenate, et cetera, et cetera. So can organization be the same way so that you can create a regenerative ecosystem, planet, purpose, people, wealth? And, and the idea of sustainability has been around for a long time. We've kind of gone up and down with this notion because it's complicated, right? Because, I mean, it's not always the most profitable thing to do. Not every leader cares about it. There's also a lack of legislation. So take, as an example, in the US where I live, the stores cannot have plastic bags anymore. People have been pushing that we should have less plastic. Only way it had happened is when there is legislation whereby you cannot have plastic bags in the grocery store. So it moved to recyclable paper bag. So these are great conversations, but in the context of AI, which is going to be a huge impact, as you and I talk about in almost every single episode.
Like we tried to get away from AI, and I want the audience to know that as well. We have the capacity to talk about other topics. There's so many different elements. And when it comes to technology and talking about AI, the adoption of AI, and just everything that's simply happening around AI, I think that both of us bring a unique angle to the conversation because we are involved in the everyday implementation.
Yes.
We're involved in understanding the complexity, but also the opportunity that is provided by this technology. It is the practitioner element.
It helps the fact that we are both in the tech companies as practitioners pushing AI technology one form or another. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've seen this in .com era. Like everybody became all of a sudden an internet expert.
Yeah.
And then, for a while, right before, AI, there was this metaverse expert, right? And now everybody's an AI expert, right? AI has so many facets to it, right? I mean, there's the technological infrastructure element to it. There's actually utilization of it. Apply AI to do organizational transformation. There's actual organizational psychology because of the nature of AI as a partner. So I don't think there's one expert, and not to mention the fact that, there's ethical and governance element of AI, which is a whole different topic by itself, right? So going back to the regeneration and AI, my point was that, a fundamental conversation I still see missing, whereby because of the adoption and the potential impact of AI, a huge number of people are going to be affected. And they're already being affected. If you look at the layoffs and people's general anxiety about what do they do with their lives in terms of career, and the younger generation who are coming out of college and already pretty stressed out in terms of their career potential, I don't know how you think about regeneration without first thinking about the impact of people, because impact of people kind of drives the entire ecosystem, right? It has impact on planet, it has impact on economy, it has impact on society. All the conflict zone on the planet are conflict zone because people do not have enough opportunities. I've seen that where I come from, but also, working in government for the last 10 years in various capacity. Conflict zones are filled with people who doesn't have the right opportunities. So I constantly worry about that. What will happen when there's this divide that's already happening, and wealth is increasingly going to get shifted. Power is going to get shifted to a handful of people. So the regeneration, and any leader want to be regenerative, they have to start thinking about the people first.
Yeah, so let's get into that topic. Let's look at the people first approach. I want to introduce the topic as well, just with a little bit of a brief summary. So in an age where artificial intelligence really promises boundless potential and proves that there is a provocation for this equally profound anxiety, leadership really has as well never faced a sharper paradox. It's a little bit, as you highlight, and what we will touch upon, I imagine, it's this move too fast and we risk losing sight of our humanity if we move too slow and we fall behind in a world that is accelerating beyond recognition. Then there is the consequences that we can discuss a little bit. So it's really, I think, the challenge that it's no longer whether to adopt AI, but it's also we need to understand how to lead with wisdom, with balance, with purpose, as we do, and take into account a lot of the components that will allow leaders this new compass that is possibly this regenerative leadership, because it's not about the control or caution. It's about cultivating the conditions where innovation, ethics can coexist, where human potential, as you're saying, and opportunity are evolving together with machine intelligence. So let's dive into it in this Conversions live episode, which is exciting. So if we talk about, we spoke as well before we started actually about opportunity. And when I think about it, one person that comes to mind when I think about opportunity in young people is Scott Galloway. So Scott Galloway always talks about how there's a gender division in opportunity that's created. So he's a huge advocate about the fact that males have less opportunity, especially in America, than females. Let's look at the people first approach. Agree with the gender division, or do you think that it's young people in general that will be affected with the lack of opportunity?
It's hard to tell, right? I mean, you're a great example of a female executive who is part of a emerging AI technology company. But in general, the term tech bro comes from the fact that it's a male-dominated technology field that has been around forever and ever. But in recent years, I think there's a shift that's happening, right? And this is going to sound kind of funny, but which I've consistently advocated, that for the leaders to be really effective, you need this combination of right brain and left brain, and you need this combination of emotional, the intelligence element of it, along with, the science and technology of your personality. In many ways, women are much more capable of balancing that than men are, right? Men are often much more ego-driven and less nurturing. I'm highly generalizing it because I'm one of those who was very caring about my family. But in general, there's a difference. And so I would like to see more female leaders step up, more female technologists step up. And I would love to see more female political leaders, and not just step up. I think that they try to step up, but to get the opportunity to lead because it's high time. We're missing out because we don't have enough of them.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's one element in the opportunity that should be and is evolving for women, I think, in tech. But if we look at the element of opportunity per se, like going back to your previous comment as well around opportunity in general for younger individuals, do you think that there's less opportunity because of the prospect of how AI will change the future of work?
AI has a double-edged sword, right? In the sense that it will create more opportunity because everybody will increasingly have similar access. It's just internet was the connectivity gave first step to it. The AI will give the next stage. With very little resource, you'll be able to do a lot more, right? So that's all good. But, especially in the tech field and women in general got lesser funding to start their own companies than male counterpart did, right? So right there has been a disparity, right? But there was also the funding model was very limited. You had early stage VC and, later stage private equity, whatever, and that was kind of it. And now funding can come from anywhere. There's a huge number of angel investors, huge number of family offices that funds tech companies, and the ability to showcase your work is much more possible because of the connectivity and the technology that everybody has. So from that point of view, I think there's more opportunity.
Here's a tidbit of interesting fact about Ree.
My very first manager was a female leader when I went to work for Pitney Bowes in late 90s, early 90s. So I benefited from having female mentoring very early on from a work point of view, obviously in personal level, mother and wife and friends, they play a significant role. I think there has always been opportunity. Even if you look at the history of computing, the contribution of computing started with the female,
exactly.
But it's few and far between. It has never been equal, especially the last 20 years. But I think that will change.
So what's interesting is that if I look at my own career, I was just thinking about sort of the mirrored effect of my own career, and if I have had the influence of more females or more males. And it's actually, I would say, been quite an equal balance of both females and males. But if we look at my time spent in the tech industry, which is coming up for 6 years now in pure AI, I was in educational technology prior to that. But if you look at sort of hardcore tech in the sense of machine learning, like enterprise level implementations, then that's always been, it is a male environment. There's multiple times, and that's not the point of the conversation, but there's multiple times when I've been the only female in the room. And it's not something that bothers me. I don't have an issue with being the only female in the room, but it's still a representation that this space has not changed. It is slowly changing, but there's more of an opportunity, I think, for females to recognize that they do and have the opportunity with this wave of AI to step into places. And I think that it's, if we go to the leadership aspect, like coming back to that, there's the opportunity for leaders to acknowledge the value that will be brought into the AI space with that diversification of thinking in minds. Led me when you were talking about as well the right brain, the left brain. I has also had a fascinating conversation with a neurosurgeon, also a historian, who was talking about the impact of the AI age, that machines are essentially going to replace everything we do with the left part of the brain. So the development will come from the right hand side of the brain. So it's not only the inclusion in the workplace, but it's the inclusion of everything that we do, the way that we integrate with our work, the way that we integrate with others. There'll be a natural shift in the emphasis of creativity, expression, innovation. That makes me think about, what you're talking about. I think you mentioned this. Is it a Japanese concept with the regeneration and
it's the idea of that nature finds a way to heal itself. It's self-healing, right? It comes from that, right? And as you and I often talked about that, AI is an amplifier, right? So you have an opportunity. This is where I always end up with, it's a question and an invitation. Where we'll end up will depend on how we amplify or surrender, right? Do you want to surrender ourselves or do you want to amplify ourselves, right? So surrendering meaning we want to give up all our faculties, agencies, freedom, whatever you want to call it. Or do you want to amplify our creativity, our ability to do good, our ability to think about people first, our ability to be conscious about what ethical conduct really means and how does that impact society? So in that context, it will depend, what we collectively do. And the reason it's so important, I think, is because never in human history we have tried to build a technology that will be more intelligent than ours. That's why it's called superintelligence, right? And whatever happens like if you look at what happens in nature, you look at the dominant intelligent it's not even strength, it's the intelligence that dominates the other species. So that's why we're at the top of the food chain. If we create something that's more intelligent, you can logically end up saying that we'll be dominated by that species.
Sure, but then I'm thinking in my head as well, you're talking about people first. But if we look at, let's take Sam Altman and look at the development of ChatGPT. And the reason that I'm mentioning this is because when I was at a panel discussion yesterday, there was a professor of law who was talking about the fact that, people innovation happens at cheetah-like speed.
Yeah.
Whereas regulation is like a horse. It's slow to catch up. It fails to ever catch the cheetah up. So the horse is there, the cheetah is there. And Sam Altman didn't think about people first when he developed ChatGPT.
Sure.
So if you have the sort of instigators of developing tech like that, can you ever take a people first approach when it comes to AI in an organization as well?
I don't think human society ever succeeded based on just legislation, right? It's the leader, not a leader, whatever the leader is, job to be thinking about the impact they are going to make or not make, right? So technology is always like this. There's not just AI. I mean, there's cloning technology, all kind of other technology. And there's ethical implication about it, right? So what has happened is just not SAM or OpenAI. If you look at the tech space, 8 to 10 vendors basically controls everything, right? Where we store, how we think, how we build models, how we get manipulated, who we spy on, all that stuff is basically 8 to 10 vendors. So it's the vendor's responsibility as much as government legislation. Legislation is to punish you at the end of the day, put some guardrail.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's no replacement for ethical leadership. Legislation alone is not going to do that. I mean, that's a human personal responsibility. And when they don't do that, then it's upon rest of us to stand up and do something about it.
But then it also goes to the point, as you state in the article that we took the inspiration from this discussion from, it's also the decision, and that's a decision that we've highlighted in the parallel with Sam Altman and OpenAI, but it's also the decision of a leader per se to accept this pressure and say, okay, right, go full steam ahead. Let's implement AI at all costs without any thought of the consequences throughout the organization. So that's a leader's choice to do that. And what we need to understand is, what if that's not the right approach?
Yeah. Right now, the massive push towards automation is because of collective pressure of staying competitive, right? Because if you don't do it, you'll be eaten up by the competition. This is like a short-term jolt that's happening, and it's a collective behavior. the right leaders will find, at least I'm hopeful, they will find a way to balance this, right? And if they don't, then we will have what we talked about, in the sense that we will create many conflict zones around the globe, because you'll have people who are not fulfilled and they're economically marginalized, right? And it's created by, the creators of economy, which is basically the corporations, right? Because they're the employers. And not to mention that,
If you look at the global economy, vast majority of the economy is based on small to medium-sized organizations.
Okay, next. So we've pondered a lot on different things in this conversation. I think that what we should do is wrap this one up.
yeah, good.
So one last question. If just 2 sentences. If you had $1 billion to close the AI gap tomorrow, would you invest in infrastructure, talent, or regulation?
I invest in regulation and ethical education.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did yesterday.
Have you seen any cows walking about? Is there any cheese on sample on the street? How AI will change the future of work?
So AI has a double-edged sword, right? In the sense that it will create more opportunity, because everybody will increasingly have similar access. It's just internet was the connectivity gave the first stage to it, right?